everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Radiorama, where, as the name implies, I show you how to work on radios. And we are in super radio restoration mode right now because our museum has an auction coming up in a little over 6 weeks from now. We usually have about 100 or so sets that need to be restored and made ready, so everyone's taking sets home. We had a huge hoard that we went and picked up yesterday at an estate, probably over 100 sets, and so I've brought a few sets home that are going to be auctioned off. I'm going to start with this guy. This is a Patterson. I never worked on a Patterson. I don't know anything about them. I think it's been electrically overhauled, but I'm going to confirm that. It needs to have new grill cloth because this is hosed. Later I'm going to work on this Cadet, which is unusual. We might keep it for the museum. It's an unusual design. And then I'm going to work on this Telefunken Jubilee. I've already fixed this guy, this weird Zenith. I'm going to start with the Patterson and hope that it's electrically overhauled, because that would save me a lot of time. And so let's take it over to the bench and see what's going on with it. Alright, so here's the back of it. And I did a little research about the brand, and apparently it's a Los Angeles brand. So that's kind of interesting. It seems like it's really well made, and it's probably pretty sensitive. You've got all these IF cans. And how many tubes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 if you count the I tube, but the I tube doesn't really do anything as far as adding to performance. I thought it had been overhauled because this wiring looks really good, but it could just be that it survived really well. It's got a nice big Jensen speaker. It probably sounds amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it up on my Variac and see what happens, see if it pulls anything. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and test fire it to see what happens. I'm going to run my Variac. And if it starts drawing current really badly, like too much current, then that's going to be an indicator to turn it off. About 50% now. It's not really drawing anything, so I think we're probably okay. Wow, look at this thing. It's beautiful. Can't tell which band is which on this thing. Let's see. There we go.
So have hope, okay?
Oh, we're sailing around. Marketing.
Okay, it works. The controls need to be cleaned up on it, and I still need to take the chassis out to determine if it's actually been restored, or if it's been restored if it was such a long time ago that it needs to be refreshed. Well, much to my disappointment, it has not been overhauled. It looks like that someone replaced one of the electrolytics a long time ago. So that's probably not trustworthy. I need to I just turned off one of my fluorescent lights. That's not good. I need to replace those. It's too old to trust. So I'll need to replace this guy too. We have 2 paper caps here, and then 2 here, and then we have a whole bunch of these mica mold capacitors. And the way that you read those is you got to read in order of the dots. Well, there's an arrow. You can see here, and so you would read it green, black, orange. And then you'd look up what that value would be. It's really fascinating here. This has a battery cell in it. There's a bias cell. So I'm not sure what that's supposed to do. Never seen a bias cell in a radio before. And the battery is probably long gone. The radio worked without it, so who knows. Okay, so I went online and looked up the color codes for these mica capacitors. And they're not mica capacitors. The name is very misleading. I think they use the word mica mold because it makes people think, oh, they're mica caps. No need to replace them ever. They're just paper that are sealed up in Bakelite plastic. And they do and will go bad. So I'm going to start with the electrolytics first. And then do the paper caps and do the mica caps afterwards. I was hoping this was going to be quick. Oh, looky here. This is fascinating. It looks like it could be wired for different voltages. That makes me wonder if this was actually a set that was also exported to different countries. It's very possible because the US only had 110 volts. We didn't have 220 volts. Fascinating. All right, so we got those two electrolytic capacitors replaced. And so now it's going to be on to replacing the paper caps, which are 1, 2, 3, 4. This is actually an electrolytic with a low voltage rating. Probably going to the output tube. It's like an output bias. Yep, that's the output tube. 0.5, that's a huge cap. It's not a whole lot going on in here. It's interesting. All right, I want to make a point here. So I removed one of these mica mold caps, and you can see how this one is split. That probably means that one's completely fucked. So it's been replaced with a modern Mylar cap. And I'll split this open. We can take a look inside. And that's what's inside. I peeled a few layers back so you can see that indeed it's just a paper cap. So all of these need to be replaced. Some people even confuse them for being resistors, and for good reason, because there are resistors that are also in that style of case and plastic with the same color coded scheme. I'm looking at this. It says 1954. That must be the part number, not the year, obviously. So we'll be on our merry way. It's going to take a little bit longer because I need to identify some of the ones that I didn't identify already as far as their values go. I wonder what this does. There's a switch between, looks like the volume and tone control. Does that cut the tone control out? That's weird. Why would you need to do that? A lot of bizarre things about this radio that I don't understand. Okay, so all of the capacitors have been replaced, and I just noticed something very stupid, which is this old electrolytic was still wired in. Probably wouldn't have done anything because it seemed like since it powered up it was okay, but I don't want to have that in there. So now again, all these little domino / mica mold caps have been replaced with nice new shiny caps. Here's something that's a little important that some people don't think about, which is, used to when I was younger, I would just solder these in every which way I could find a place to put them. But oftentimes when they're positioned in a certain way in the chassis, it's done so on purpose. And you can throw off their alignment and other things in the set just a smidge if you don't solder in your capacitors in the same configuration that they were soldered in from the factory. Anyway, so now I am done with the capacitor job. I'm going to clean the pots here. This one looks a little bit easier because we have an opening into the... In fact, this makes me think that this is a replacement. Maybe a replacement. There we go. This one doesn't really have any holes in it. So I'm just going to squirt all around the perimeter of it. including the shaft, and just hope that some of it will soak into the control. We can clean the wiper. Alright. Yeah, it's still a little bit tough to turn. You want to clean these guys up too. This is our wafer switches for the different bands. And I'm not afraid to use a lot of it. Let's see if we can get one of the knobs to work that in a little bit. Alright, so what I'm also going to do while I'm here, this has a audio input for a phonograph. So I think what I'm going to do is actually run a line through here and see if that works.
Of which,
Alright.
how potent is that New York Yankee bullpen? We'll hear from him.
Who cares? I don't watch sports. Anyway, now I'm going to see if I can connect my audio here. Well, that should be working. Let me try something else here. Alright. That does work. I guess that tube's got a little bit of life left in it, but it's mostly dead. Alright, so what I want to do is run a line in through this and run it through a pair of resistors so we get our right and left channels together so we get mono. Then I'm going to clean this up a little bit, and then I took the speaker out because I need to fix the grill cloth. To take that panel out and re-grill cloth it, whatever. Okay, so I've brought the audio line in, splitting right and left channels to a pair of 33 ohm resistors, and those go tied together. The other side goes to chassis ground. Do not do this on a set that does not have a power transformer. When you have a power transformer, the user is going to be electrically isolated. If it is a hot or floating chassis, not so much. That means that one end of the line is going either directly to the chassis ground or through a capacitor, but either way, don't do it. On my other videos, I'll show you how you can handle that. You need to go through an isolation transformer just to be safe. So now that we've gotten all the electronics done, I'm going to take it outside, dust it off, and then I'm going to remove the panel inside to get this grill cloth off, because we need to change that. Alright, there is the grill cloth panel. You can see what it looked like when it was new. It was more like that. So it's gotten sun damaged. When it gets sun damaged, it makes this stuff really brittle. So I've got some generic grill cloth I'm going to put on here. But we'll need to rip this off, clean it, and then cut and measure what we need for the new grill cloth. Alright, so I cut out my piece of cloth. I know it's not what looks like it came on it, but it's going to look better than what it did. Now the next thing to do is get out the iron that flat when we get all the creases out of it. Alright, so now that I've ironed the piece nice and flat, I just use wood glue. I know there's probably a real glue you're supposed to use for this, but I find that wood glue does a fine and dandy job. So I just want to put it on semi-thick. Obviously, you would not want to put the cloth down on it like this, so we're going to knock it down. It's also not a bad idea to get rid of excess glue if you put too much on it. Yeah, whatever. There we go. And again, just want to make sure there's no like wet spots, because otherwise it'll show up through the cloth. You just want to get it kind of tacky. That's looking pretty good. Yuck! It's getting all over my fingers. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash off my hands, and then I'm going to put this fabric over the top. Alright, so now we have the grill cloth installed, and what I do is I'll tug at it from the edges like this and make sure it gets nice and tight. and also make sure that we get it really well embedded into the glue. It's looking pretty good. Now I'm going to let it sit out in the sun for a little bit and dry. Should have folded that up before I filmed this. And let it dry, and then I'll clean this up, clean the cabinet up, and then we'll start some reassembly. All right. So she is back together again. Very pretty dial. Love this dial. Got fast tuning, then fine tuning. Looks like the eye tube's actually kind of okay, so I'll probably leave that alone. It's on. I need to adjust it so it's twisted this way a little bit, but anyway, I think this will make someone pretty happy. I mean, I think the grill cloth replacement made a whole new radio. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, and why is it popping? Okay, maybe we have a loose tube socket here. Yeah. Yep. Loose tube socket, I believe. Anyway, I'll look into it, but that pretty much concludes this episode of Radiorama. So until the next time something comes across the workbench, I'll see you guys next time.